Hey VC, how's it going? Right, okay, this is another Lost in the Grooves video, which is just an excuse for me to pull out a few records which are perhaps a little bit overlooked or contain tracks which perhaps deserve a bit more attention. So yeah, and all three records today, the artists are all linked because they've all recorded over a, I don't know, 40 or 50 year period, but their output has been pretty limited. You know, none of them have recorded any more than 5 or 6 albums during that, say, 40, 50 year career. So yeah, and each of these records are pretty much their comeback records as well. So yeah, see what you think. So for example, just starting off with this is Scritti Politti with Anime and Bonami. Now this came out in 1999. Now Green Gartside, a totally distinctive voice, a fascinating artist, but I think during the course of his career he's put out 5 records, has he? Yeah, and I've got to say, you know, this year, 2023, the album that I've played the most, without doubt, is the Scritti Politti album, Cupid and Psyche 85. Now, the reason for that is that I work from home 80% of the time, and every day that I start work, the first thing that I put on is that record. I don't know what it is, but something's just clicked me with that album this year, so I've been playing it pretty much every day. And it sort of led me to this record. So this came out in 89. It'd been a 10-year gap since the previous album. And yeah, this is a real mixture of styles. It's got a soul influence there, it's got a hip-hop influence, but the track that I'm going to do a needle drop on is the final track, which is called Brushed with Oil, Dusted with Powder. And it's a beautiful song. And particularly what I like about it is the string arrangement, which is done by Paul Reiser, who was the string arranger for many of those Norman Whitfield produced Temptations records for them on Motown. You know, I think he co-wrote What Becomes of the Broken Hearted as well. You might be wrong there, but I think he co-wrote that. So yeah, a proper pedigree. But this song is just gorgeous, and I love Green Gartside's voice. Now, I would love for him to make more music, but I don't know. Do we take? Are these records more precious to us because these artists have put out so little material really during the course of their creative lifetimes? I don't know. Perhaps if he was knocking out albums as frequently as Neil Young, perhaps I wouldn't have the same interest. But yeah, this is an interesting listen. It's not as good as Cupid and Psyche 85, but it's certainly got some high points on it. So see what you think.
Brushed with oil, dusted with powder. A broken door, a hotel bedroom, the sun cut in through the blind. Oh, but I tell you, the office arrest. How did it start? Oh shit, you know I wish I knew what's it on hybrid fields. West Side Highway, or here in the Hollywood Hills.
And I'm following that with an album by Dexys. Now, note the name Dexys rather than Dexys Midnight Runners. Obviously, this is Kevin Rowland. So this is him bringing back the Dexys name. So obviously in the 80s, he put out 3 pretty much perfect records. The last one being Don't Stand Me Down, which came out in, I think, 85. So this is the follow-up, I suppose, to that album. This came out in 2012. So it's that 27-year gap. Now, in between, he had put out a couple of solo albums, The Wanderer and My Beauty. My Beauty in particular is worth checking out if you haven't heard it. You'll probably recognise the cover. But yeah, this is a great record. I saw them on this tour where they just performed this album in its entirety. Great performance. I mean, I've said this before, I genuinely think that Kevin Rowland is a genius. Just the way that he's able to change his style of music and direction for the band, and also just how focused these records are. The track I'm going to play from this is a track called She's Got a Wiggle, which I think is brilliant. I think it was a single. It's the sort of song that just gets stuck in your head.
She got a wiggle, she got a wiggle that makes me bounce. The problem is at the moment, if she even likes me. She's such a woman, she's such a woman, she's all I her soft brown hair and the poses she strikes when she stands in there. She is woman. I just want her. And in my mind she says, oh baby, she's not about me. She's not about me.
And finally, an album by Bill Faye. This is called Life is People. Now this came out, I think, also in 2012 on Dead Oceans. Now, for those of you that don't know, Bill Faye recorded a couple of albums on the D-Rum label in the late 60s, early 70s. He was dropped from the label obviously due to poor record sales and just gradually disappeared. And I was reading an interview with him, I think from the time of this album coming out online a few days ago. And he was basically saying he just felt like nobody was listening. He'd been deleted from history almost. And then one day he got a phone call out of the blue basically saying that there was a label reissuing his albums, and he just couldn't believe it, you know. So eventually that led to him recording this album. So this is well over 30 years, well over 40 years, sorry, since his previous record. And the track that I'm gonna play is a song called The Healing Day. Now, this was my entry point to Bill Faye's music. I went to sometimes go to a vinyl night where there's a bunch of us turn up with a bag of records each. We all sit down, play records, you know, and have a few beers, whatever. And several years ago, a chap turned up with this record and he played the song The Healing Day. And normally we just talk over each other's records, you know, we don't really show any interest. But as soon as he played this, the place went silent.
On the healing day, you will find our way. On the healing day, to where the children play. On the healing day, when the tyrant is bound and the tortured freed from his pain, and the lofty brought to the ground, and the lowly raised, ain't so far away. The healing day.